I believe we should be live. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me again at another session here at the writing desk. Today is Friday Fun Day, and we're going to practice a little bit of penmanship. We got some new paper. This is all thanks to the recommendations of Perfect Biscuit, who's also here on YouTube, who you should go and find. David Irigoyen is a very good penman, and if you're interested in business handwriting, I highly recommend you check out some of his videos and follow through with some of his recommendations because they are good recommendations. I got some paper. This is premium. This is HP premium paper. I got a ton of it, 500 sheets for, I don't know, maybe 20 bucks, but it's a ton of paper, and I tried it out this morning, and it's superb. It's great paper. And then the other thing I got, where'd it go? Here it is the lettering guide that he recommends and talks about in one of his videos. Fun little toy, and it made these lines very easy. I'm still learning how to use this thing, but I imagine as time goes on, that's going to get easier and better. So this is to create lines very quickly across your paper. I'm going to work with that today so you guys can see how that works as well. Great tool. Other than that, I got a ruler. It's just an ordinary ruler with some lines, clear ruler. So yes, thank you, David, for all those recommendations. They're wonderful. And this paper, I tried it out this morning, is fantastic. As some of you might know, I've been using some cheap composition paper for a long time. I just go through paper and I enjoy going through it. But switching over to this paper here, I can certainly tell the difference. It's very similar to Rhodia paper. It feels a little less smooth, but it's not at all coarse. I mean, it's pretty smooth paper. It feels a little less glossy than maybe Rhodia paper. I'm not sure if that's what it is, but it is a lot cheaper than Rhodia paper, where you're spending maybe $10 for potentially 80 sheets of paper. Here you're spending more like, well, I said $20 for 500 sheets of paper. So you're getting so much more paper for a lot less money per sheet. And if you go through paper at the rate that I enjoy going through paper, then this is definitely worth it. And the great thing about it is that, look, I can use the back side of it. You can't really see any of the ink through. So this is superb printing paper. Because it's printing paper, it's not super expensive. So again, thank you, David, for the recommendations. I am very happy I followed through on those. So we're going to use this thing, and I'm still learning how to use it. But I see that there is these. I was reading the directions a little bit, but I guess these are 1/8 inch parted holes here. So these are going to make the lines very easy to keep at an 1/8 inch apart. Good afternoon, Von D. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to have to grab my T-square. Okay. So, like I've been saying, I followed through on some of David's recommendations, and I went ahead and I bought the lettering guide, and I bought the paper that he recommends, which is this HP premium paper. And I tried it out this morning, like I had posted in the Discord, and I was really happy with it. The quality of it is superb. So I am happy about that. I am looking forward to using it some more. Fortunately, I'm going to have to keep today's stream somewhat short, but doesn't mean we can't have some fun. Okay, keep that flat against, there we go. So then this thing plops down right here, and I guess we'll start right around there. Now I want an X height. I guess we can deal with an X height of about 1/8 of an inch. Maybe we should go just do the full line and imagine the X height. I'm not entirely sure what would be best. The other option is there's other holes here, and I was trying to figure out, reading the directions, what they mean and what all the measurements mean. So I guess this is equivalent to what it is out of a 32nd, so 1/4 inch. That would make this center row a 1/4 inch. So if I go down to 4 out of 13, that makes this a 1/16 of an inch. Is that right? Could that be right? Let's see. So I'm going to do 1/16 of an inch, and then we're going to skip a line, skip a hole. And this should be 1/8. Let's pull up the other ruler to understand here. Okay, so yeah, I guess that is right. 1/8 of an inch there. Now, is that what I want? Do I want 1/8 of an inch? Because the other option, let's see if that's 1/8. So then we would have another 1/8 down. And then we'll do a 1/16. Who knows if this is worth it in the end to go through making all your lines this way. I'm not going to spend the whole stream making lines, in case you're worried. So let me jump down like this. And that is 3, so then we'll do this here. Okay, so these lines are really, really small. Hey, what's up, David? Thanks for joining us. You should be working. Yeah, I just got off work, and then I decided I'm just gonna rush home and start the stream because I feel like playing with all the new toys I got. I went ahead and I ordered, if you missed it, David, I ordered one of these, and then I went and bought the paper you recommend too, the HP 32 premium paper. Had a little fun this morning before I went to work, and I'm really happy with these recommendations of yours. But now what I'm thinking is about the line heights and what line heights I actually want. So these are supposed to be 1/8 of an inch apart. I believe they are. 16th border, yeah. Okay, they are exactly what I expect them to be. Question is that going to cut it? So if we're working at 1/8 of an inch, let's go ahead. That is 1/8 of an inch high. I can't believe that the standard writing height would be a 1/16. Like 1/8 of an inch already seems pretty small. To be smaller than that, that would be along like this line in here. That would be a 1/16 of an inch. You think that paper that's more coarse would suit the writing style better? Maybe paper wasn't that smooth back then, but we've innovated since. So now we have just smoother paper. So then this is a 16th down here. That's pretty intense. Be too exposed here. Looks okay on your guys' end. Who's texting me? I don't know where my phone is. I have too much on my desk. Not too bad. Yeah, seriously. It's super cheap. I mean, I would compare it to Rhodia paper, except it actually feels a little heavier than Rhodia paper. And it's really cheap compared to Rhodia paper. I don't think I'm ever going to buy Rhodia paper again now. I messed up on these lines. See, maybe I can readjust the camera here. Let's make some wider lines. So this is 1/4 inch lines here. Trying to decide what line height is really most ideal to work at. Grimes is telling me that in his exemplars he sees that 1/8 of an inch is a pretty standard height for letters. In business writing samples, historically. When I got this lettering guide, it was way smaller than I expected it to be. I thought it was going to be much larger. It looked much larger in the videos. And then I got it and this thing was tiny. Do you think it makes sense to put in the X height at 1/8 or a 16th if that's your goal, or to just line it out and then aim for half of the width of the line? Yeah, that would be cool. Maybe we should do it. Instead of wait for somebody else, we can copyright it and take it. Run with the idea. Kind of weird. Let's see if I can do it left-handed. Gentle. It was so tiny that I didn't think my 0.9 lead was going to even fit through these holes. They're so small, these things. Okay. I can live with those lines. Let's see. I'm gonna start here. So this is, I believe, a 1/2 inch. That's a 1/4. can see how maybe this is too smooth, yeah. What was that tinted paper that you showed in that photo recently, David? Was that a smoother paper or a more coarse paper? Hi, Micah. Thanks for joining us. Strathmore. Yeah, I know what you mean. That's kind of how the vellum that I've been using is. Friction is your friend. Somebody commented on one of my videos talking about the genuine Palmer R, saying that no one uses the genuine Palmer R. I'm imagining that he's talking about the running R. Has anyone ever seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas? One of my favorite scenes is when they're going out to report on that dune buggy race in the desert, and he thinks he's in a battlefield, and the car pulls up to him. They ask who he is, and he says friendlies. That's one of my favorite scenes. So funny. Yeah. Vondi, you can buy some mylar paper and micro mesh to smooth out scratchy nibs if you want. Okay, here we go. Another chance at the L. Why is the L so hard? Yeah, I've used micro mesh and mylar paper on Visconti, on my Visconti pen, on my TWSBI pen. I think I've even used it a little bit on the Namiki. As long as you're gentle and you smooth it out in increments, don't go ham on it. You should be fine. It's not really that big a deal. I was a little worried at first when I first did it, but it's not too bad. I've made a lot of improvement on my Fs. I don't know what happened. I just felt it, and all of a sudden it made sense a little bit more. I don't get it every time, but when I do get it, I can tell because of the feeling. That's what's so interesting about business penmanship. It's more of a feeling than it is writing. I don't know. I'm having a hard time explaining that. Yes, I agree with Micah. And the Mylar is even less, because the Mylar is just for polishing the nib and making the writing experience smooth. So sometimes you don't even need to use the micro mesh. You can just use a little bit of Mylar paper, and the Mylar paper will polish the nib so that it writes really smooth. So I looped a little bit on the I, and I failed to loop on the E. Great. Yeah. Well, that went by really quick. Can someone explain to me the blotter? Why you keep the blotter under your hand while you write? I tried to do that the other day, and I couldn't find very succinct flow to the whole experience of using the blotter. I had a hard time moving my paper, and then I have these two papers in the way. You mean the capital R? This one? Oh, this one? Is it under my left hand? Oh. Okay, so then I would keep the paper up here so that as I hold the paper down, it doesn't... What I was trying to do is keep the paper underneath like this. I thought it was under the writing hand, yeah. So I thought that you keep paper under your hand here. But like I found that getting in the way, so then I would try to like move this paper and I don't know, it wasn't working as smoothly as I thought. But now that you mention under the left hand holding the paper, that kind of makes sense because I always see write G. He keeps the paper above the line that he's writing on and works down that way. So that kind of makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed. Yeah. Is that why he does that? Okay. I wasn't sure. Because I've seen other penmen do it too. I think I've seen BP Olivia. She recently posted a video where she's writing April, even though it's February still. And she's... the blotter. So the blotter goes underneath the writing hand. But... Is it a special kind of paper or is it just any normal paper? Let's put some on the eyedropper. Yeah, I would imagine it being more important on OP. Because I've noticed, especially on the vellum, like the vellum will pick up oils really easily. And oftentimes I tend to hold my paper from the bottom rather than from the top. Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, I have this writing pad. It's really, I bought it from David Grimes. It's this leather pad, and that works really well to cushion the writing experience. But it might, I don't even know if it's that practical for BP because you don't need to put pressure down. With the really sharp nib and the vellum, I was having trouble sometimes. You would call that a blotter. Oh. Well, let's try this again with the writing, with the paper underneath. I think it might also help me keep my lines straight without any lines on the paper. See, and then this is the trouble I have, is that when I want to move my paper, okay, my cover sheet. So now I want to move my writing paper, but now my cover sheet is in the way. So I slide the cover sheet, and I couldn't make it a unified experience where the two would slide together, and it wasn't smooth. Like the whole experience did not feel smooth. I was having a lot of trouble. I do enjoy writing on the leather pad more than I do the solid table, so. Yeah, I don't know if I could ever really get used to writing with this secondary paper. It kind of just ruins my flow. Forget it. We're getting rid of it. Yeah. I don't know why they're so hard. Yeah, just like this, right? You go flat right here. I'm trying to understand the difference in sensation. Yeah, I can kind of tell when, I mean, in comparing like the L here and the L there. Somebody should clip that and we can go back and look at it. Yeah, I think Micah, you might have, might be onto something there, because you can kind of tell that the problem began up here. And then we kind of, it's almost like you did it wrong and then you try to compensate and you make it worse. Where the curve over here, I mean, the curve looks all smooth. What minute are we at? 55? Okay. So I'm going to go back and look at 53 and see if I can learn something from my movement. The other thing is the movement cam isn't really capturing the whole arm. I'll have to work on that too. Let's do lowercase b. Let's get a couple more in here. I think this one might have been the best one if I hadn't lifted. I was also looking at Carlini Griffey, is that his Instagram name? But he was talking about how do I have a good example of this? Oh, maybe here, this is kind of a good example, but the entry stroke and the exit stroke being parallel. So when they're parallel, to aim for that, and that the rest of it kind of falls into place. But I have noticed that the ones that look better tend to have a more parallel entry and exit stroke. Like maybe the first L on Foley over here. And you can kind of tell that they're slightly off, but they're pretty close to being parallel. Yeah, I feel like I really have to force myself to not bend at the elbow, because I can feel that that's what's causing this right here. Do you write on the back sheets, on the back of your sheets? Or do you never write on the back of your sheets? Always. That's good. Yeah, I always tear my papers out of bound books if they're bound. I don't really like writing inside a book if I'm practicing business penmanship. I don't think you can really attain the full movement with any sort of thickness in the paper like a notebook has. one's okay. It's a little flat here at the very end. I can kind of like feel myself anticipating the curve and trying not to make it a sharp curve. Oh, okay guys, I'm gonna have to call the stream there. Thanks so much for tuning in. We will see you all next week. Take care.